Welcome everyone. Now we are probably live after a little bit of YouTube hiccup. You try the fancy new features, schedule a live stream in the hope that more people are there watching an empty chair, and then you can't go live. Although we have 0 drop frames and an excellent connection, amazing stuff. Welcome everyone, and one of the first times I tried out this schedule live stream feature and it really worked, amazing stuff. Although I probably didn't really get a notification, but apparently some of you guys noticed that. Yesterday I set AMD's Agesa update here, the famous ABBA update, and I set in my IT News live stream maybe a % of performance improvement, and I had this from sites like Gamers Nexus and stuff. Some average value like a little bit faster, so yeah, 1% or so. And I knew it better. I should have waited for the in-depth evaluation of the otherwise famous German YouTuber Der Bauer here. And yeah, obviously just after I had in my IT News stuff 1%, then Der Bauer is here on with all the finest details. Why is he doing this and not myself? Well, I'm not working at Case King and I don't have all those AMD GPUs at hand, and I want to buy the 3950X, but AMD does not yet deliver. So we need to rely here on our neighbors here from around the block to do this amazing technical analysis, and I will not shamelessly steal his amazing video here. So you want to watch that advertisement video, not making the same mistake again and restreaming this and get my channel banned like I did with the Apple event there. However, so two outstanding observations, and you should go watch all the long video there. And by the way, I didn't even check audio. Do we even have audio? Yeah, at least some. I hope it's not skippy and blocky with Pulse Audio. So two observations. First of all, what he found. So your mileage may vary depending on your silicon lottery. Some silicon, the die is, I don't know, I think they're on 30 centimeter wafers, I think, right? So with this lithography process, there might be dust spots, other impurities in the material, also the focusing of developing this, and the focusing. So some areas might be more in focus than others. So I don't know if maybe in the center they are more in focus. So maybe, I don't know, I've not worked there, but I would expect some areas probably have a higher yield than others. So some dies of this wafer there, 30 centimeter I think or something, are higher performance than others just by the physical properties and how many earthquakes there have been and all the other fun stuff. So your mileage may vary, and also you see this with other YouTubers. Some YouTubers have higher single core boost and others lower. Also for some models that are already higher bin, you apparently have less effect. So, but one thing, he actually has slightly better performance, like 2, if not sometimes even 3%. Maybe that is of course totally amazing. Intel takes with all the Spectre and Meltdown, and AMD gives a little bit, although yeah, they required a month of a little bit persuasion here, that convincing them that they advertised a little bit more. Again, personally, I don't really care much. I just want to have the 3950 16 core 32 thread SKU. But one thing, so I personally, I don't really care too much of 1, 2, 3%, whatever. However, so the 2 or 3% totally amazing. However, there is one caveat, and that is really not nice of AMD. So first of all, Der Bauer still has not seen as high, more reliably often occurring single clock turbo boosts as advertised. And then he obviously contacted AMD and said, yeah, it's better, but not really yet totally as advertised. And so AMD came back to him apparently and said, yeah, you see this best with PC Mark 10 or so, some old-fashioned benchmark few people are using. It is of course a little bit strange that the best turbo boost you are not seeing with single core Cinebench or single core Geekbench or something. You need to see the most highest performant single core boost. You need to run PC Mark 10. Like what? Seriously? So you don't see this maybe during a configure run, compiling open source stuff. so for the highest turbo boost, then better not run configure something which, as you all know, mostly runs serialized on one core due to the nature of serialized configure scripts. That is a little bit strange. And what's even stranger, and so mostly this would not be newsworthy. If this would only be 1 to 3%, I would not even speak about this again. The only reason I speak about this a second time now is that they apparently played a really shady trick here. And that is, can you also go away advertisement? That is apparently they overboost. At least it looks like this. So you can probably go watch all the long technical video, because I will not restream it because he did an amazing job here. And when you run this old-fashioned benchmark, he noticed that in areas before and after the benchmark or in between, so this PC mark, I think it runs like Adobe Photoshop and Excellent, all kinds of PC nonsense there. And he analyzed here, and so maybe, was it this fraction or here? If it's no or low load, he actually gets the highest turbo frequencies, and that's a little bit fishy in my opinion. To me it looks so. I think if I summarize it correctly, Der Bauer did not really call this, he didn't name this something. He only said this is strange and something. I would even go further and say this is really a little bit tricky, and to me it looks a little bit like avoiding a class action suit. So to me it looks like if the load goes away at the end of the benchmark and there's nothing much to do, then just turbo boost a little bit over aggressively just to make the reviewer and analyst happy with seeing those frequencies. And this is really shady and fishy. And in my opinion, AMD doesn't even need to do this. And well, except the sad things, of course, the trigger happy American class action suits. So in my opinion, the performance is amazing. I would not even, with all the whining or controversy on YouTube, I would anyway recommend this, right? Even Der Bauer, initially, a month ago, Der Bauer even said the performance is amazing. It's a good value for the money, just that it doesn't reach the advertised turbo clock frequencies. And I totally agree, and even would say I give a total 0% of any care here of whatsoever about those single clock turbo frequencies. I just give me finally the 30 thread 16 core SKU here. Finally, I want to buy it. Shut up and take my money. So I totally don't care, except that this is really fishy, and I really don't like when companies play this kind of fake game. And I also wonder if this wastes a little bit of extra electrons there on your electricity bill, because it looks a little bit like a turbo boost when there's nothing much to do. And this is certainly wasting. Well, even if it's not doing much, it certainly wastes a little bit. Although, yeah, this is certainly peanuts in the grand scheme of energy efficiency here. But I just wanted to share this. So results are even better than 1%. Maybe your mileage may vary, just that this turbo boosting on idle is a little bit, yeah, what the heck are you even doing there? It's why. But yeah, the only reason why is maybe avoiding American USA class action suits. It's a little really sad that in 2019 companies need to play such tricks to avoid getting sued, but that's probably what we are up to in 2019. Otherwise, yeah, AMD, can you finally start? I have the feeling they might miss their September 3950X 16 core launch date, although even if maybe they even only launch on paper, because I googled the other day, did not Google today, but the other day, I did not yet get any pre-order sites or whatsoever. So I have a little bit of the feeling there is still half of September left, but I'm not really the most convinced that I will have a 3950 in my hand this month, although I wish I would have, because we have here some stuff to compile. Obviously here on the Linux side, Musel, I need to on my full, by the way, do I have Musel here? Only live on this channel, a little bit of open source development. This is Musel this, and then I built this with LTO, just fired up this VM. Okay, we want LTO here, and that is otherwise generic stuff, and let's maybe double check that we are building with ceiling, and we do, because didn't use this VM in a couple of days. Fun fact, I killed my virtual machine the other night. If you notice that one of our services went away a couple of hours, that was I tried to, the funny stuff, you make experiments on your live virtual machines. Yeah, I killed this overnight with out of memory, killing most of all the services away with trying to link time optimize LLVM ceiling on with itself, and yeah, certainly needs more than yeah, this is why I booted this here with 24 gigs of virtual memory. Let's hope that this works, just for the excessive testing here, certainly, and that is what we need this silicon for. Let's see, comments in the audience. Did you sync the time? Yeah, I synced the time. This time is synced. Fun fact, this is, if you want a data point, so this is the OBS here, this is also running OBS without a full featured desktop environment in this fancy new XDG screensaver stuff here. I don't have this fancy screensaver stuff running, thank you very much, OBS. But otherwise, this uptime here is pretty high now. 8 days, so since 8 days, the ThinkPad is standing here on this table and going live occasionally on a even booting here fragile on my Road Warrior SSD so much. If you wanted some stability, long-time testing of that and the Linux kernel and Xorg and stuff, pretty good in that regard on desktop Linux in 2019. And there, how many people did we even have in the audience? Let's see, analytics, quite some people. Okay, good to know that probably so in the future I will use this schedule live feature, even if it's only 15 minutes, to ensure that at least a handful of people are in the audience. That is amazing. Cool that this works a little bit. And YouTube is starting to be a piece of yeah, so what is really, so I had this really annoying bug, but this is not only YouTube, this is the whole internet in my opinion. Everything needs to be over dynamic, animated and whatnot, and at the end stuff doesn't really, also the new Twitter, at the end stuff doesn't really work amazing anymore, the new Twitter, although maybe I'm the last person on earth, old man yelling at cloud, I'm maybe the last person using the classic web Twitter stuff, but that also becomes a little bit heavy on the browser and whatnot. So yeah, it's larger, less space, less text fits in there, and everything's like 10 times slower because fancy web stuff. Video request on Crunchbang, whatever that is, don't even know, probably should, maybe I should not even say that I don't know what that is. To Crunchbang Linux, was Linux distribution, but they write here was, so that is end of life or what? Designed to use comparatively few system resources instead of desktop environment, used a customized implementation of the open box. Yeah, actually, so that sounds like my Linux. If you want to have this experience, so it sounds like obsolete if they write about this in the past tense. If you want something like this, exactly what I'm rocking here on this, or see the Sony Vario PS there. But anyway, so if you're interested in small and beautiful, probably T2 could be for you. Also, yeah, if you recompile this stuff for your CPU, like Gentoo could even be faster. Many of the pre-installed applications use the GTK Plus, so up to 2000. When is this last release? 2013, 6 years ago. So okay, interesting. But there you see then my count of Linux distributions is off by 1 again. So after, what was this Chinese one? I already forgot what was the Chinese one from yesterday. So with whatever Linux China way, what can you go away? I used this. All right, I didn't use Chrome here too much. This was some, what was this even called? Chinese something, Huawei. Hello, can you? Deep, of course it is deep in. How could I forget deep in Linux? And yeah, Crunchbang. But yeah, why would you want me to do Linux about this? In my opinion, it feels a little bit like how I run personally T2 for most of the better half of the last 2 decades. But what is so special about this except open box and low resources? That is also what you can have with T2SDE, probably. Kids, what you shouldn't buy in is marketing and wait for real world experience. And yeah, if you mean this with AMD, then again, to repeat myself, the AMD performance is mostly outstanding, and for me it is said that they need to do it like this to start with, and other than that, I only wish the lunches would not be as paper lunch as the 3950s, but maybe they just sell like hotcakes, and I don't know, maybe, but on the other hand it doesn't make sense, because it can't be that they just outsell, because the 3950 is the highest quality SKU, so they need to have those high quality dies, or chiplets, so it doesn't even make sense that they would sell them. If they would have those chiplets, then they would certainly sell those. So maybe this means they are not as good as a Yield to have enough chiplets for that SKU to have all the cores running at the target frequency and stability and such. And yeah, welcome everyone who joined in late. Cloud, there is a Cloud just. Yeah, actually I saw a funny photo. Should we live Google this always when? Also, by the way, if you wonder what Agesa stands for, all the fun live stuff, only live here, forget to mention, wanted to say, of course, Agesa stands for AMD Generic Encapsulated Software Architecture. Of course, encapsulated always means like hidden away from you, although they open sourced this apparently, an earlier version, not this version, an earlier version 5 years or 2011 for core boot or Linux boot, but it sounds like they didn't even use this in core boot. Maybe they said the code quality isn't up to the standard or something. However, such releases never became the basis for the development of core boot, so subsequently halted. Yeah, also, yeah, not amazing. So what this means is that even from the BIOS vendors, they hide all the implementation details. They give them this binary blob that they call Agesa, and the BIOS vendors just put it in there and can't do much. And also, again, earlier they accidentally allowed running PCIe Gen 4 on the CPU direct PCIe lanes on Ryzen 3000 Zen 2. They took this also away, or at least maybe it sounds a little bit to me of what I heard from people more familiar to this matter, that it would be still possible, but it sounded like AMD clearly told the BIOS vendors, you are not allowed to do this, apparently in one form or the other, allegedly. So yeah, so much to why are some people hacking on their BIOS here, just unlocking all those hidden bits and secrets that the vendors don't want you to use. Also in PC Mark, here was controversies in 2008. An Ars Technical article found that VR Nano gained significant performance after just altering the CPU ID change to Intel. However, this could be explained by the way the Intel compiler works. So that means CPU ID, if genuine Intel, then run the SSE 2, 3, AVX and whatnot code parses. Intel lost a lawsuit about this, but this is also what I said earlier, right? The AMD FX and Phantom performance was not as bad. This is why I run them on compute nodes, also cheapskate and stuff. But on Windows, the benchmarks might always have been a little bit biased just because of the compilers favoring Intel, especially if the developers use the Intel compiler. Last but not least, just what we, old man yelling at Cloud, found Cloud. There was a funny photo, I think on something like Ars Technica, maybe I even had this, as there was a data center room, an empty server room with just a Cloud in the center. That was actually a pretty funny photo. I think it was somewhere on Ars Technica, but probably not finding this now live on YouTube. Anyway, what is our LLVM ceiling? Yeah, I'm not really sure. I have the feeling I didn't pass down. So this is on the path through VM, and I have the feeling I didn't pass through all. No, we have 16. Okay, then I passed through all code. Okay, amazing stuff. More comments in the audience here. Also, only here live on YouTube. Some open source development while we are at it. And never actually worked on Agesa. That's code never actually worked on Agesa. I see aimed on Iffy. No wonder. Yeah, new blog from G3D gives 2550 extra megahertz. Maybe at der Bauer sometimes it was even more, maybe even actually. So this PC mark is a little bit tricky. The other benchmarks, of course, if you have your single core load like an old game or an open source configure script, you would expect this to turbo boost the most. And what der Bauer found here was actually PC mark turbo boosted the most in the stupid idle periods, and this is probably starting applications, because I think this PC mark never run this personally, not on Windows, but it sounded like it's scripting other applications like a browser, like a spreadsheet and stuff like that, and photo editors. So the scripting leaves the areas of less intense workload, and then it's apparently turbo boosting the most. Again, a little bit fishy, right? I wonder where would be, here was something, cloud server, where would this funny photo be? Anyway, then we didn't find it here. Was just a funny anecdote anyway. Foregrounds is again. And yeah, again, I said this in the IT news, a little bit megahertz extra. By the way, how many are this? So this is in megahertz, so 25 megahertz is what my 386 was running at, right? So much in the grand scheme of things. How many are this? Yeah, 25 megahertz, not too much, right? Money must be fun for the rich man's world. Yeah, again, just like der Bauer said in his video that you probably should gonna go watch the two. Yeah, ABBA and Banana, and that's what you get with binary only blobs. Just like der Bauer said, totally unnecessary to do this a little bit, not 100% accurate marketing number advertisement there. And also, as far as I understood, people from AMD, like the marketing department, basically also said there is nothing to see here. Everything it's designed. Even a month or 2 months ago, they said no, turbo boosting is advertised, and it took such an outrage to actually for AMD to do something. And that is a little bit, as I said, this is somehow always the companies, the biggest companies, they always ruin this without any good reason. They have an amazing product, outstanding performance, and yet with over-serious marketing and some people miscommunicating their stuff imprecisely like this, and then they ruin a little bit the experience, in my opinion. Yeah, actually, okay, this is actually building a little bit slower, because that was exactly our issue here, right, with the Muso ceiling from the previous videos, if you have not seen this, and why all this open source stuff and running a whole distribution. Also, for those who want this, what was it, crunch, bang, whatever stuff, let me scroll to this, crunch, bang, I guess. Seeing more anecdote that gives 300, you mean 300 megahertz? Yeah, I think at der Bauer here it gave up to 150 maybe, but mostly, but of course it depends on your silicon lottery. First of all, are the people honest? And second of all, it depends on your silicon lottery. If you have whatever this Agesa is doing, there also this, it looks at der Bauer only that it's turbo boosting on the two best chiplets. So if you have, was it two best cores, how many chiplets are in there? 1, 2. On the two best cores or something. So it maybe they have encoded, and these are all the implementation details that I would really love to know so much, and that are a little bit hidden, right? Because all the Windows people, they only run Chrome and Excel and maybe Geekbench, and that's it. And I also would love, with this channel and contributing here to the community, going back to looking on real implementation details and how this works, because it's always like, hey, it's that fast, or just plug it in or whatever, and something, or changing some BIOS settings. What I would really be interested to know is probably, I guess, they would, if they bin this at the factory in the silicon fab, they bin this, right? So they probably run this in a test bench, and probably this means the chiplets, right? I guess without the I/O controller chiplet thing. And then I would actually expect this to be like freestanding on some kind of prototype mount stuff there in the factory, fully automated. So to see the heat and the clock, it reaches stably the chiplet there, and then they certainly sort this for the binning for the high-end SKUs and the low-end SKUs, and how many cores are defect. That also means they need to encode this somehow, right? I'm really curious how they decode this. Do they have, maybe they only burn some micro fuses like E-fuses or something, because the Agesa probably needs to know which cores are the best, right? So if you have this full CPU package, and the Agesa boots up, initializes the CPU and memory controller and everything, it probably for the turbo boosting has to know that there must be some kind of encoding on the silicon substrate itself somewhere on the CPU package to tell the Agesa these are the two most amazing cores and you turbo boost those and not the others, I guess. But these are, I really wish we would have more of this stuff, internal tech details, how stuff works. This is also what I call out on the surface with the touch disease, and companies don't do something and stuff that we need. We certainly more and more involved in a tech savvy civilization, and this is so many details are hidden behind this company intellectual property, and less people understand how stuff works or even can diagnose something. And and how, if you don't even know how it works and stuff. But yeah, that's it for today. I hope you learned something. We're still waiting for this build. That how many drop frames? Hey, 0 drop frames, amazing stuff. And hope some. Yeah, hopefully that gives you some indication what you would want to buy or not. Again, the performance. You probably only need such kind of performance if you are a content creator, developer or gamer, I guess. So if you are totally satisfied with your system, probably don't need to go out and spend your hard-earned money. I'm slightly wondering, can we, as an outro, theoretically wait this to finish? So this is linking. Do we have here this? Probably oh wait, damn it, I forgot to change something. I see here OS. Of course, OS is not what we wanted. So we need to rebuild this because I wanted to check the performance of LLVM Ceiling, link time optimized, and also the size, because if we use the static libraries for nearly twice the performance, especially compared to here. OS anyway, here I made a mistake here, optimized with OS. Anyway, did I have the LTO stuff is hopefully in there, or yeah, FLTO, I see it there, yeah, but this is a little bit unfortunate that now I need to rebuild it again so much too. You just do it while you YouTube live stream and then you don't have your stuff speed optimized, as we just learned how important it is for LLVM Ceiling. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. I try to give those content, of course there are those other YouTubers, but their power are certainly not as huge, although certainly much larger than us, but not as large as Linus Tech Tips. And you see they only drop CPUs there, so wanted to boost the signal to noise ratio a little bit, and especially for the more Linux focused community. And over to the static side, yes, and FX. Yeah, I didn't have an FX. I had the Phantoms, still running the Phantoms in the office, because as long as they run, they run. Yeah, really, okay, we can change the setting already. This Musel, you see a couple of test builds. And if you run, you see the investment, even if you run an unsuccessful one-man distribution, sort of semi-professionally, you still have a data center server there, local compute node there also, well, for your other IT stuff. But how much CPU cycles you spend and why we need more of those AMD ones, can't, yeah, size, can't, also best without typo. can't build, test build and stuff enough of those. I'm slightly wondering, let's this again. Yeah, this is still LLVM JIT-Link. Let's see, so this VM, the Ryzen build from last year, which I'm still waiting again for the latest SKU, 3 years still, so I passed down 24 gigabyte of memory. If you wonder what do you need 64 gigabyte for, you're running a couple of open source compiling virtual machines, and yeah, we still soon need to get into Chrome, compiling Chrome here. Rust and Firefox certainly already annoying enough, but what can be more annoying, certainly doing that with Chrome. And yeah, surprisingly still some megabyte free here, actually even gigabytes free, 3 gigabytes free, 2 cached, used, 19 year. If you have seen my previous live streams, we from the 64 normal compiling stuff, even LLVM CLang, still only 59 gigabyte free of 64, so like 5 gigabytes used. Until you start link time optimizing this stuff. I mean, this really kills memory. Like I killed the data center VM the other night, out of memory, killing everything. Also, 2019, the Linux out of memory kill algorithm kills everything away except your excessive LLVM LLD. Because why not? Why do you need SSH or a Apache web server on a machine if you can link time optimize full force? Let's see, do we have this? Yeah, okay, worst case scenario, obviously in parallel. I wish a little bit, even I think neither Meson, also yeah, modern build stuff, neither Meson, certainly not old-fashioned make. I wish there would be a second for parallel build all the regular stuff, and then only like not parallel link, because you see this is of course worst case here, 5 minutes here linking of all those LLD here from LLVM goodness, and that certainly probably means I need to pass down more memory. This is certainly also how the virtual machine died in the night, because the Linux kernel had a very hard time to decide which of the 8 or so of the virtual machine LLD to kill, and then it killed everything else. Amazing stuff. How many gigabytes are this? Even 1.6. Yeah, virtual resident, and yeah, quite some. Again, this is a previous build. By the way, I could actually stop this now, just wasting electrons and CPU cycles, because I want anyway. Probably don't even have swap here, do I? No, I don't have swap. Free, well, there's still something free. You know what, I kill this away because I need this size speed optimized anyway, otherwise it is 100, like twice as slow, not cool. Let's see, more comments in the audience and then we call it a day. Apart from 32 gig of RAM limitation, still does what I want. Yeah, exactly. And this is also, don't get crazy with all the YouTubers speaking about, oh, we have a blinking camera, so we will go offline soon. Like now, I guess. So, thanks for watching. Battery is dying. What else can we answer? Well, the battery is dying. Athlon 270, 4 gigs of RAM. And yeah, for the usual open box, black box stuff, that certainly is enough, unless you compile like me, Linux open source stuff the whole day. And 32 gigabyte RAM. Yeah, until recently I also only had 32 gigabyte, only recently tested this new and largest 32 gig modules, and that surprisingly worked on last year's board. Battery still blinking, just so damn expensive when you need that much. Mine's filled with RAM, so the machine anyway. Yeah, thanks for watching, hope you learned something. Now we rebuild this